Hello everyone, my name is John and I'm here in Washington DC making this video to talk a little bit about myself, my education and my career. I was asked to make this video by my lovely girlfriend, Miss Pauline. Right now we are here at the World War II Memorial, which is one of my personal favorites. It was erected to honor all the servicemen and women who served and gave their lives to defend our freedom in the Second World War. Back behind me you can see the Lincoln Memorial, which was erected to honor our President Abraham Lincoln. I'm sure if you haven't learned about him, you will be shortly. Up in front of us here you can see the Washington Monument. It is currently undergoing construction due to some damage it sustained about a year or two ago. About myself, I was born in New York. I moved to Florida when I was young, where I went to Palm Harbor Middle School. I then went on to Palm Harbor University High School, which I'm sure a few of you may have heard about and might end up at in the future. While at high school, I did the medical program, which I really recommend. I got my certified nursing assistant's license while I was there, which allowed me to volunteer and work in different hospitals around the area. Overall, I really enjoyed high school. It does take some work, but I think you'll all have a great time there. I met a lot of great friends. I enjoyed all my teachers, and I really think that I had learned a lot by the time I graduated. High school is really a time where you learn a lot about yourself and learn a lot about the world in general. Like I said, it does take some work, but it's well worth it in the end. After graduating from Palm Harbor, I went on to the University of Florida, which is one of the best schools in the South, in my biased opinion. I went there to pursue a degree in chemical engineering. Engineering as a field was very interesting to me. It's where you get to use math and science and all the things you learned in school to solve problems and solve different things that are going wrong or will change in the world. Overall, college was a really great experience. I met a lot of lifelong friends there, as well as my girlfriend, Miss Pauline. She went there to obtain a degree in elementary education, where she is currently pursuing her master's. I played a lot of sports while I was in Florida. I really enjoyed all the clubs and the sports and the different activities that are available there. College is great because there's so many people that you will definitely make friends and find the place where you fit in. And if you do go to college, hopefully you will find a degree and career path that suits you and really use it to find out what you want to do in the future. I know at a young age it's really hard to have an idea of where you want to go in life. I know that in middle school and even in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. Even though I really did enjoy the medical program and the medical field while in high school, I realized that it wasn't the field for me personally. And I actually changed my major 2 or 3 times while in college because I just at first couldn't make up my mind. But I'm really glad I decided on chemical engineering. It was a great major. I met a lot of very smart, very helpful teachers while I was there, and it allowed me to get the job I have today, which I will be talking about after a short break. Hello everyone, I'm back from a short break where I grabbed some lunch and took a walk over here to the US Capitol, which you can see behind me. Another one of my favorite buildings here. I really enjoy the architecture, and it's even larger than it looks in the video. Anyway, a little bit about my career. I work for a company called Accenture. It is a worldwide company specializing in technology consulting, which is essentially the field that deals with building websites, managing data. Really anything you do on the internet or on a computer is the kind of work that my company does. I work for a division that's called Accenture Federal Services, which is why I live here in DC, because we get all of our contracts from the federal government. And the reason for that is since Accenture itself is actually based in Ireland, we are not allowed to do contracts from the federal government because no work can be done for the government by a company not based in the United States. So this led to the creation of Accenture Federal Services, and we work on projects for the Department of State, for the Department of Commerce, for Congress, for really any part of the government. We are given contracts to do things relating to computer work, internet sites, all that kind of thing. Now, I can't go too in depth about what I do because I am bound by law and a thing called a secret clearance. But as an overview, essentially my project, which is called the Integrated Logistics Management System, or just ILMS, as you can see here, is a project for the Department of State that has to deal with all the what are called U.S. Embassy locations all around the world. Now, a U.S. Embassy is essentially a building or area of land that is technically owned by the United States and acts as a base for U.S. residents or government workers that are outside the United States. Now, we have hundreds of these locations. You can see on this map right here that they are all over the world, from Europe, Asia, South America, Africa. Really, anywhere people live, there is a U.S. Embassy. And the reason for that is that Americans and our military and government workers are spread throughout the entire world. So all these U.S. embassies essentially act as a safe place for Americans to go in case they have a problem or an issue with the country they're living in. And the great thing about them is they essentially act as a piece of U.S. soil. So once you are inside the U.S. Embassy, you are essentially in the United States, even though you may be physically located in the middle of China. So what my project does is we create the system that deals with all the purchasing and tracking and delivering of all the items needed by these U.S. embassies all over the world. Now, due to something called the Buy American Act, which is a law that requires all U.S. embassies to use goods that are produced and manufactured here in the United States, anytime someone at a U.S. embassy, whether it's in China, Europe, South America, Africa, needs a computer, a helicopter, a laptop, even something like a roll of toilet paper, it needs to come from the United States. Now, that sounds pretty complicated, and it is. Essentially, users at these different embassies go on either our website or our computer system, and they make purchase orders for these items that they need delivered to their location. Now, this really gets complex because between all the government workers who travel between these embassies and all the goods they need to do their job, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of shipments going from the US to all over the world every single year. And my team specifically, which is comprised of about 20 people, deals with the purchase of things like expendables, which are paper, paper towel, food, anything that needs to be delivered and is used up is a part of my project. Also, we work with financials. So anytime that money needs to be sent or transferred or moved between U.S. embassy locations, our system handles that as well. Now, there are other parts of our system, such as the vehicle management system, that you would use if you were, let's say, in Paris and you wanted to drive to Germany to a different U.S. embassy location. You would use our site to book a vehicle for the day and make that drive. Now, my role personally as a data consultant or technology consultant is to essentially coordinate all this work that needs to be done to keep this system up and running. And not only is it a lot of work to keep this system usable, It is also a lot of work to make all the changes and upgrades and enhancements that is requested by the federal government. So essentially, the Department of State, which, like I said, is a division of the U.S. government, is given a budget to fund this system. So a bunch of guys called congressmen get together in this building behind me, and they decide how much money the government has to spend for everything the Department of State needs to do around the world. Then everyone who works at the Department of State gets together, and they decide how much money they can spend on this management system. And they also decide what's wrong with it, what could be improved, what needs to be added, and they make that into a contract which they give to us to produce. So essentially, every few months or so, we are given a new list of items that they want changed, or a list of improvements or enhancements, as we call them, to be added on to this system to make it more user-friendly. So we do have people working in embassies all over the world, and sometimes we need to use this system for locals, for donations, for all these different types of tasks that these U.S. embassies need to use them for. Now, my job is to coordinate our area of the system. We use a programming or computer language which is called PeopleSoft. It's basically a language for computers, just like English is a language for humans. And we use this language to develop these computer programs for the work I've been talking about. So my job is to coordinate the people who actually build these systems to make sure they all get done on time, that they meet their requirements, and that everything is described to the Department of State in the way they wanted it done. Now, these projects are very expensive, and the government has been in a little bit of a pickle lately because they are being urged to spend less money but get more of these things done. So requirements are becoming more and more difficult, and their timelines are becoming shorter and shorter. Now, what this means for us is we need to become more efficient as a team and work to integrate and compile, or for lack of a better term, combine all of this work into a shorter period of time. And not only that, but we need to design what needs to be done, we need to actually build and develop it, and then we also need to test it to make sure it works. Because if we send a program out to the Department of State and our site is getting used all over the world and it suddenly stops working, well, the Department of State is going to be very, very mad at us, which is bad. So it's very important that I do my job to get this work coordinated, and that I'm able to make sure it's up and running, that it's working, and that there aren't any problems or issues that might be seen in the future. Now, the reason I find my job enjoyable is because we get to work with all these embassies all over the world. So one week I might be communicating with an embassy that works in France and needs something delivered or changed to their site. And then a month from then, I might be speaking with someone in Germany, and a week after that, someone in China, because, like I said, these embassies are all over the world, and it really is very rewarding to know that you're working on something so large and so important to the U.S. government. Now, technology consulting as a field can be better described as computer engineering, and it might be the field for you if you enjoy working with computers or learning about new technology and enjoy the idea of building a website or building something that people are going to use every day. Honestly, I never thought of this as a career path when I was in college, but I was offered this job upon graduation, and I'm really glad I took it. The other reason I enjoy it is because here at Accenture, you're able to switch between projects whenever you feel the need to, So if I work on this project for 6 months and I decide I want to do something else, I'm free to do that. Anyway, that's a general overview of what I do here at Accenture Federal Services in Washington, D.C. I've tried to give the best overall description I can based on what I'm allowed to talk about, but I think that I've described well enough what I do here as a job. Like I said, I really enjoy doing it. I think it's a great career field, and I love living here in D.C. If you're ever interested in visiting, you should let Miss Pauline know, and I can get back to you with either a little video or a list of places to see and things to do. I really would highly recommend all the museums here. The Museum of National History, the Museum of Air and Space, which is my favorite, are really enjoyable, and I think if you enjoy learning, you will enjoy these even more. So anyway, if you have any questions about my job or what I do, please let Miss Pauline know, and I can try to get back to you as soon as I can. And whatever you decide to do, I hope you look for a career that you are very satisfied with and that you enjoy doing, because while you always want to find something that helps you contribute, you also always want to be happy with what you do. And I think I've found a good balance of that here working in Accenture. I know that school can seem like a lot of work sometimes, but you'll have to trust me that it's worth it in the end. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video about my career and what I do. And I really think with a little hard work and putting some effort in school, you can end up in whatever career you choose to be in. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your speakers for National Career Day.